Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Factory of the Future. I'm here with A.W. Schultz. I'm Alexandria Burek, and today we're going to be talking about 6 different types of leadership styles. We have a fun exercise to see how well A.W. and I know each other and how our perceptions of ourselves stack up against our perceptions of each other. So this is going to be a really fun one. We're both excited. We made a selection and we have no idea what it's going to be. So it's going to be a live reveal. I'm actually really giddy and excited about it. So AW is going to introduce the 6 different leadership styles and give us a little background context before we dive into this fun experiment and conversation. So AW, thanks for bringing this to the table today.
Yeah, so what we have is and this is based off um, an essay released by Madsen and Slayton, and it's called Viral Leadership. And they did a study about the 21st century leaderships, and they talk about the different influences that are on there. But what I thought would be interesting is talking about the different types of leadership. And Alexander came to the point, well, let's see how much we know each other, and let's talk about what they are. But to get things going, I'm going to introduce what they found as the most popular types of 21st century leadership. And it just not in alphabetical order, but beginning with transformational leadership. And this is about the ability to inspire others, having visions, and being able to commit to organizational goals. The next one is servant leadership. And if you remember, there was a book that came out a few years ago about that same title. And it's about prioritizing with others and being able to involve the members and identifying the stakeholders and bringing them part of the decision making process. Authentic leadership, a little bit closer to servant leadership, but this is really truly about the personal values and fostering trust within the workforce or their employees. Emotional intelligence, very much what it sounds like, is understanding the demeanors of others and the emotions and how they play a part in how you're directing others and how you're pursuing yourself. Agile leadership, um, this is a big project management term, but this talks about emphasizing adaptability, responsiveness to change, and being able to adapt to different environments as they're brought through with different tasks or challenges. And then the last one is charismatic leadership. Now, this is leading through personal charm, having a vision. It incorporates that emotional intelligence, but inspires and devotes others to follow and lead into it. So those are the 6, and the article goes on to discuss that while these are all popular in their own aspect, that a lot of them kind of share similarities. And the way that the article kind of concludes is that it can almost be a watch out that if you're an executive or a C-suites and you fall in love with one of these um,
Styles.
leadership fashions, that it doesn't necessarily change it's going to drive change within the organization, but you have to have a good glimpse of what that organization has as far as maturity and the way that they can adapt to it. And it also talked about that, with social media and the different leadership gurus that are out there, that there's some takeaways on it, and this was written by some in academic, so they were literally pushing back quite a bit, saying that these gurus don't they look for the one-liners, but they don't actually do the research on it.
See, and here's my take on it. This reminds me of love languages, right? So I hope at this point in life, people are familiar with love languages. There's 5 love languages, and I see this like love languages. I feel like there's a predominant love language or predominant leadership style that we all have, and then these others kind of fall in suit after. I don't think you could be a successful leader without having a little flavor of each of these 6 components. I think it would be really difficult, or at least maybe 4 to 6. I feel like even if you're predominantly charismatic, you probably also have to be a little bit agile and maybe a little bit transformational to be a winner. So I feel like there's some Venn diagram of this, but it's just kind of like a personality trait or love language where you have a predominant or a majority lead, and then these others are just kind of less influential or less prominent in your leadership style. So with that, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first? In guessing like or saying like what I think you
Yeah,
are
yeah.
versus yeah, okay. So I picked you as a transformational leader. That's what I think you are. So you inspire others to follow, you create this vision, and then you foster this commitment to organizational goals. The reason I chose this for you is because I feel like on out of the two of us, you're very you always have the papers to cite, you always have the statistics to cite, you're getting your PhD, you've done the TED Talk, like you have a vision for your life, you're executing on that vision, and you're just very like detail oriented and like you always have facts and support to back up whatever you're saying. And I think that's why I would pick transformational for you. So how do you
Okay.
think I did?
I think that's I can agree with that. I can agree with
Yeah.
that.
Okay, cool.
So do I go next?
Yeah, you
Then
could pick for me. Yeah.
okay, so I picked the same one for you.
Really? Okay,
I did.
cool.
I just
Okay.
remember the way you organize when we're doing some of these projects together, the way
Yeah.
you're very quick on building out, let's do a contract, let's build a plan to it, let's put some dates to it, and then you're
Yeah.
asking me this, are you meeting those dates? And then no, I'm not. And and then you're balancing multiple different projects at the same time, and it doesn't seem to be dropping off. But you seem to be getting stuff done. So that's where I thought about transformational leadership for you.
That's really cool. That's interesting. Okay, so for me, what I picked, what I thought is I feel like I rely on my like personality and bubbly nature to drive some of those things. So I picked for myself that I'm probably charismatic. I would say definitely organized and all those things that you said. So thank you for suggesting those things. But yeah, I thought people probably listen to me a little bit only because it's somewhat enjoyable to work with me. But I don't know, maybe not because this love interest of mine, I had said to him, I was like, someone told me I'm bossy. Can you believe that? He's like, no, I believe that 100%. And I was like, what? I haven't even been bossy with you. And then I talked about it with my coworkers and they told me that I'm very bossy, but they still, they always listen. So whatever that means, I don't know what type of leadership that is, but that's what, that's what I got. So what did you pick for yourself?
Just real quick on that, what's interesting being bossy and being a leader?
That's what I said. I was like, I get stuff done. We get things done, and usually on time and pretty close to budget. And if people fall out of line, we get them back in. So, but yeah, so that was interesting. It was interesting to hear people think of me as bossy because I just thought I was organized and assertive. That's the way I like to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I picked agile, and I picked
Mm,
agile just because, I didn't, just different avenues, and I'm flexible on many different things. I mean, I'm doing a podcast now. Didn't think I'd be doing that,
yeah.
and just how I'm trying to take some different trainings and then also run a business that trying to learn the sales and the marketing aspects of
Yeah.
it and applying some of the knowledge as I have in it. But I've often been when I go into organizations is I don't find myself as um, I wouldn't want to be somebody that wants to dictate saying that this is the way we do it. It's always done it. But being able to
Yeah.
listen to others, somewhat, I guess, maybe, keeping that emotional intelligence, but being flexible and saying that we've got a goal and this is where we have to go after it. So when I'm saying that, I'm looking like, okay, well, that's transformational, that's servant. And then I'm going down the list and that's kind of what this article touched on a lot about. It also that they all kind of intertwine. But it was
Mm-hmm.
also interesting. They talked about the how did they call it? The the white man Western region, meaning that all these gurus, they're basically all white males. And that's puts on the pedestal of what leadership is. And that was one of the things that they were trying to contradict, that why is that the stigma, and why have they become so popular over the years? And it always seems to be a white male on that side.
Yeah, it's that bias, right? Like I think we covered it on one of the previous episodes, or I've definitely been it's on my radar where there's a certain bias where like whatever, like so in a role particular, let's just use this CEO role, right? Whatever that person looked like, generally there's this weird belief and bias that the next person has to look like that person. So if they're tall, if they're short, if they're white, if they're black, if they're this, or that, like whatever your line worker looks like on a factory floor, like you're more, there's some bias in your head that hires other people that look like that. And then you kind of just naturally get a bunch of people that look alike. Like if you think of a salesperson, I don't know what comes to your mind, but like for me, it's like I feel like if I'm picking a salesperson, I want it to be a beautiful blonde woman for some reason. Don't ask me why, but like I feel like she would crush. Like who doesn't want to buy? Even I feel like women or just generally people, like you like to be around people who are attractive. Like there's something about their energy that just draws you in. You're like, yes, I want to be around you. I want to be like you. You're so cool, you know?
Yeah.
So like that's kind of like what I have in my mind, even though I don't know if it makes any difference or not. But that was an interesting exercise, AW. I really appreciate you bringing this to the table. Thank you for the kind words. And I'll have to say that my second pick for you was between agile and authentic. I thought you bring a lot of authentic, like true to values. Like I remember there was a conversation we were having about kind of the facts, and you're like, I always want to bring facts. I don't want people thinking that I'm just making stuff up, and like, but then you do it in your own personal way. So it's kind of like you're always staying true to your values of like backing things up with facts, but then doing it in an AW sort of delivery fashion. So I think that's cool.
Okay.
But I agree with the agile a lot. I appreciate one of the things that's been interesting of us working together is I appreciate, and it's forcing me to kind of like push past this like level, like comfort zone of like being flexible, because I tend to be, I feel like pretty rigid in general. Like if we make a plan, we try to stick with it, like try not to like go outside. And I know that we've like you've been really flexible, and when I ask you to reschedule, and like I always make sure that like I return that same courtesy to you. So I think what by you doing that, it makes me a better partner to you. So thanks for bringing that to the table.
Yeah, so I guess the takeaway of this, and to bring it back to the factor of the future, is that there's a lot of different leadership styles out there. Um, I wouldn't discourage you from just reading more about them and how they play a part into it, but be cautious of it, because just jumping in on one, it
Yeah.
doesn't going to be the answer. But as you probably have seen, many people out there that have you seen good leaders, they demonstrate a little bit of all of us, and
Hmm.
that's to me that's kind of the takeaway on that.
And I would even add, if you want to do this exercise, I think we just learned so much about each other in doing this here today. Like I really enjoyed this exercise with you, AW, and we've been partnered up for well over a year now. I think our first podcast recording was in June last year, even though we didn't post until November. We
Yeah,
started recording in June. We met in March, so we're in this now. And I thought this was an absolutely great experiment and exercise. So if maybe you're a leader, it would be a great opportunity if you have a stand-up meeting with your leadership teams to bring this to the team and say, hey, let's do this little exercise. Let's pick out what we think. And it gives other people this, it gives you an idea of how you're being perceived by others, and what you think might be landing is not landing or is really landing, and you were totally oblivious to it. So that could be a really cool way to bring this information to your organization,
I
um,
like that idea. I
to your
think we might have to
teams.
talk about this for a future workshop that we're putting together.
I was gonna say I want to do a workshop topic on this, and I feel like this would be a great one to do together. This would be a great co-hosted workshop topic. So are we gonna talk about the workshop before we close out and
Yeah.
okay,
There's we'll put together an Industry 4.0 workshop,
yeah,
and this workshop is understanding organization maturity. So understanding when to invest and when to stay to the norm,
yeah,
and what the reason we bring this forward is that we've seen over the years, people's organizations spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on investing in technology before the people are even ready for it.
Yeah.
And I've come in and seen so many failures on it. And it comes into that they get a good idea, they see where the benefits are, and then what do they have? They come in, innovations come in, things start running great, delivering all the things, and then what do you see? You know,
Adoption
eight,
falls
10
off.
months later is
Yeah.
that it falls to the toilet because
Yeah.
they didn't have a good training plan, but
Yeah.
they didn't know their own maturity. So that's a lot about what we're doing. We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about different ways of coping with it and how
Hmm.
to bring activity plans forward to bring up your maturities if that's something you want to you feel that your organization could value from.
Yeah, what I would add to that is two things. We're really gonna be putting on a workshop that's really holistic. So when you think about implementing new technology, you're gonna be paired with an implementation specialist, and it's gonna be very tactical, very in the system stuff. But there's not a lot of business process being discussed. There's not a lot of considerations about the workforce skills, all these other things that really good leaders and leaders need to consider whenever you're thinking about implementing technology in order for the program to be successful. You're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on new technology. You probably want to spend at least a little bit of time, money, and energy into doing these assessments. And that's one of the benefits of this workshop is that, coming in and exiting, you're going to have a full assessment of where your organization is and a roadmap on how to get to where you want to be. So that's what I'm really excited about. And I really just love the holistic approach that we're taking to like integrating technology and humans and making it really fun. Like I think this workshop is going to be fun. That's truly what I'm excited about as well. And
Yep.
we're going to do a good group of different industries and different leaders from different spaces. So it's going to be really wild, really awesome in Vegas. I mean, could you describe Vegas in any other way other than wild and awesome? But
Yeah.
I think that's enough for today, right? Are we clocking out?
Yeah. We're checking out here like finished goods.
Yep. All
Everybody.
right. Well, great topic. Thanks, AW.